Hi, you're on the Optimistery channel. Today we will understand another interesting theory, the theory of zombification through the media. Let's get started. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The whole problem is that the information avalanche daily bombarding our consciousness began its course about 15 years ago. The rate of flow is growing 10 times faster than our brain has time to adapt to such lightning changes. We are simply not evolutionarily ready. But who is going to ask us? The evolutionary fad goes straight to our brain, which, as it turns out, can be very easily programmed technology of 5 stages of programming our consciousness will disclose in this video. So first we need to choose a theme that we will carry from the state of unthinkable for our consciousness to the state of normal life. You can think of anything. Even the most fantastic topic, for example. Negative thoughts of people provoke emissions in the air, or underwear is better to wear on your head, or 99% of wages. The state decided to take to themselves. I think you on this phrase made your teeth chatter, so let's take it. Working for just 1% of your salary seems unbelievable, even stupid. But you know, the idea of unconditional income once seemed delusional too. Once we discussed it, and even tried it, in Switzerland and Finland, the result was ineffective, but that did not prevent us from starting discussions. If there was an attempt to just give out money from the state, why not try the opposite approach? A working group of researchers has already been created, and we are already discussing this topic with you right now, and the others are only helping us because the number of statements is only increasing. Scientists with their hypotheses, journalists who are heating up this topic in every possible way. The very process of interest in this topic means an increase in citations. As they say, PR has no color. So we went from the unthinkable to the radical. We introduced outright madness into our information field, and that was the first step. At the second step, we need to appeal to curiosity, so we need to come up with a soft term for our phenomenon. It is not the state forcibly takes all your money, but centralizes the money for better management. And in general, why are we all about money, and money, in time we will find another arbitrary term, softer. Accumulation of resources of the population. No one takes money from anyone. The state accumulates resources. Creation of a soft term is very important at the current step. It is necessary to detach the form of the word from its content. The main rule of the new word should be such that the society does not have an association with the time when it was unacceptable. And here all the same scientists to which the intelligentsia has already joined begin to discuss the accumulation of the population's resources. Then it will turn out that once in Rome there was such a thing, or even in the history of our country, and it is still necessary to understand what effect it had. And here we have gone from radical to acceptable. Step 2 is completed. Step number 3. Now that we are already freely discussing the accumulation of resources of the population, we must determine the attitude to this. On the left, we have radical opponents, and on the right, radical supporters. Here the main thing is to do 2 things. The first is to recognize that there are radical points of view, but at the same time, ordinary people who are against accumulation should be attributed to the radicals, trying to brand them as uneducated ignoramuses who do not understand anything and generally want their own country to weaken a little more, and we will call them internal enemies. If you think about it, accumulation has its disadvantages, but it also has advantages, so this new phenomenon becomes somewhere in the middle, between radical against and radical for, embodying, as it were, sanity and progressiveness. We have moved into the realm of the reasonable. Step number 4, the topic has gone to the top and is being discussed not just in narrow circles, but by the masses, thanks to the media. Of course, the most important thing is to find popular people who will say that actually they would be happy to give 99% of their income to the state because it will make society equal and justice will prevail in the country. That is, we need leading artists and bloggers. Step number 5 is the final step. Since all possible studies have been conducted and public discussion leads to the fact that the population is literally asking to implement the accumulation of resources, those who planned it from the very beginning come out of the shadows, and as if sensitive to the opinion of ordinary people, published sociological surveys confirming the desire of the majority in the country. Meanwhile, we have come to the denouement. The legislative base is being prepared. A new dogma is being introduced into society. The happiness of a single person is forbidden. It is possible to be happy only for the whole country if you have a slight chill from the possibility of a similar event. It confirms the workability of the technology that Joseph Overton invented. There is an essay on the internet called The Technology of Destruction, which says that the values of society can be changed by applying 5 steps. There are 6 states, attitudes to the topic, and if you use the tools, namely the conclusion of taboos in the info poll, the creation of a soft term, the stigma for opponents, radicals, and here to condemn radical non-acceptance and acceptance of topics, to popularize through screen heroes and legitimize, you can shift the consciousness of society to move the very Overton window and make acceptable norm in general anything. Joseph Paul. Overton was born on January 4, 1960. Michigan State received a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and afterwards a doctorate in law. From 1992 to 2003, he worked at the Center for Public Policy, served as vice president, and got married a few weeks before the plane crash that killed him on June 30, 2003. Apparently, his engineering view of society helped him see a concept or a model, the essence of which is that there is a framework of topics that are acceptable in society at a given time. And if you go beyond these limits in the direction of greater or lesser freedom, you can be made unpopular. Just imagine what would have happened to a person if, for example, in 2017, he had said that it was necessary to enter an institution by QR code. At best, he would have been sent to a mental institution. The McKeon Center for Public Policy, where Overton worked, still exists. There is no mysticism here. Joseph Overton originally proposed the concept to justify the work of think tanks. In other words, it was needed to explain to the sponsors of the center the importance of actions to shape public opinion. The very name of the Overton window was not invented by Overton. It was invented 3 years after his death, and the visual form was presented by Overton's colleague, Nathan Russell, and only then the concept had a shell. Later, this shell was Docrutal John Trevini. He kind of refined this picture, adding to it already familiar to you stages unacceptable, radical, and the rest, and the real popularity of the theory received after a meeting in 2010 with the writer and politician Glenn Beck. He wrote a fantastic bestseller and brought back this theory, but his version has acquired a fundamental difference. Now, the window is not a model of hints on how to look at the current mood of society and adjust their statements, but a technology to change the consciousness of society. There is a popular misconception that politicians move the Overton window with their own hands. But it is quite the opposite. What politicians actually do is to identify where it is and react accordingly. The Overton window can show what political action is acceptable at the moment. An idea that sits outside the edge of the window may become a reality tomorrow. Interest in the Overton window emerged in the United States in 2010. The original Overton window is a way of looking at public sentiment in order to determine what people approve of. Let's take another look at the 6 states and the 5 tools of transition to these states. Let's highlight the 5 tools: introduction into the information field, creation of a soft term, illusion of sensible discussion, popularization through screen heroes, legitimization. On the whole, personally, as it seems to me, these are the usual tools of propaganda or political technology. Whoever you like, political technology is a set of ways, methods, and procedures of influencing the masses of people in order to make their political behavior favorable for the achievement of certain political or managerial goals. Yes, not always these points are traced 100%, because it is like any theory of ideal variant. It is not always necessary to use all and at once. Knowing this, you can look at the news today, looking at today's events to estimate possible scenarios for the next year, 3 or 5 years. What seems unthinkable today may become law tomorrow. Thank you for your attention. Subscribe to the channel. A lot of interesting things to come. All the best to you.